Hi, welcome to Midwest Magic Cleaning. My name is heavily featured in rock songs from 1990 until 2006. We'll be doing this in a couple of parts because, as you'll see toward the end of the video, I discovered something that is potentially dangerous enough that I wanted to get out of the house and then come back and treat the problem before diving back into it. But we did get the major first step done, so at least there will be some sort of completion in this video. So suck it. Now, if it looks like I'm cleaning a garage, it's because this building was originally a garage and then years ago it was converted into an apartment. I'm going to be pretty straightforward here. I've just basically sat and stared at my monitor for about 30 minutes not saying anything because I had a real hesitation about even putting this video out. And it was really difficult for me to do this house, and it still is difficult for me to go back in and finish it, but I'm going to. And the reason is because I knew the people who lived here. Now, I'm not going to go into the background or how I knew them or anything like that because I respect them and I want their privacy, obviously, the same way I'd want privacy on every other video that I ever do here. The reason I'm bringing it up is because I happen to know the problems they were going through. Everything from just kind of bad jobs in our area that don't pay very well, so money was an issue, to my friend had pretty severe bipolar disorder. And coupling that with lifetime addiction and substance abuse problems would cause him to crash out occasionally on me or the people who are around him. All I can speak to is me personally. And I would get crash out texts at really late at night. And it was usually when he was drinking, and you could usually tell by the type of text that was coming in here. I won't get into all the details of that. The only reason I'm telling you is because eventually it got bad enough to where when I would get texts at a certain time of night, I kind of knew it was going to be him, and I knew the condition he was going to be in and the types of texts that I was going to receive. And eventually it started giving me panic attacks so badly that I would lose entire nights of sleep. And on 2 different occasions, it made me physically throw up, like it made me physically sick. I eventually had to go no contact. Just because it was affecting my personal mental health. And it sucks because I love him to death. He's very smart and very funny, and I enjoyed our friendship as long as we had been friends. But eventually I had to kind of set a boundary and say, for my own mental health, I have to back out of this back and forth. I hate it. And I still hate it to this day, and it still bothers me because I didn't want to do that, and I still don't want to do that. And again, the only reason I'm telling you all this is because I know the conditions mentally and physically that led to this house being in this condition. So logistically, what happened with these properties is that the old landlords sold them because I don't know if they had health problems or they were just getting too old to mess with rentals or they were just tired of doing rentals. Either way, they sold the properties. The new owner bought both of them, but he had to buy this particular one that we're in sight unseen because they were still living there at the time and there were legal issues, so he just bought them. Eventually, everybody moved out of both properties, and he's currently working on the first property that he bought, completely gutting it and rebuilding it on the inside, painting it, putting in new appliances and cabinets and all that. Then when he's done with that one, he's going to come over here to this one and do the same thing here. He's also offered for us to film that if we wanted to film that process so you can see it to its completion. This house had pets, and you can really smell the pets in here. Now, I didn't find a bunch of pet poop or anything like that on the floor, but you can definitely smell. It smells like a kennel, and it smells like chemicals. It's pungent enough that we had to open up the doors and the windows for 3 days, and you can still smell it in there. And that's because the smell has kind of soaked into all the wood and paneling and the desks and stuff that you can see that were left behind that absorbed the smell. The chemical smell is one that I'm really used to because of the places that I normally work on, and that is the smell of dead roaches. Typically, I can walk into a house and tell if it's got roaches just by that smell because I've been around them so much, I can sense it. And yes, when we walked in, there are thousands of just dead roach bodies everywhere in cabinets, toilet, the bathtub, the sinks, on headboards, and on the floors and in the walls. They're just absolutely everywhere. Now, fortunately, the only live bugs that we found was I happened to uncover a nest of wolf spiders, which are harmless. I don't show those on video, so don't worry if you're arachnophobic. But it definitely made me go, bleh, bleh. But yeah, I lifted up a piece of wood and like 20 of them came out of there scurrying everywhere. And then I promptly went into the other room and made that noise 4 or 5 times. I'm assuming that there was years and years of vaping inside the house because everything was coated in what felt like a thin layer of maple syrup. All the pull strings for the lights, they would stick to your fingers whenever you touched them. It appears that there was a small stove fire at one point, and I say small because even though the top of the stove is pitch black with ash and soot, there's only a small section of the wall that has it, so you can tell it didn't get onto the wall and set the actual place on fire. It just looks like it burnt the top of the stove. The toilet, I don't know if it worked or not, but I know that it doesn't work now and hasn't probably worked in a while because when I pulled the back of the tank off, it was entirely dry on the inside, and it's been dry long enough that there were dead bugs inside of it, along with a bunch of cobwebs. The only way I'm going to show you the toilet is if I can actually get it clean, but I don't want to show you the toilet in its current condition if I can't do anything with it. I mean, in the end, they're going to entirely gut this place down to the studs and have to redo it from scratch. The walls are wavy, and the reason is because they're old, like 1970s or 80s paneling, and they had a bunch of aquariums in here. So it kept the place super, super humid, and eventually that moisture made the walls warp. Outside of all that, there were significant electrical problems here. You could hear arcing in the wall behind one of the light switches, so we're going to leave that alone. There were at least 2 sets of lights that didn't work at all unless you pushed them a specific way, like you pushed the bulb a specific way, which means there's a bad connection and or a short. Just from this video alone, we filled a 30-yard dumpster just from the stuff they left behind, and we will fill another 30-yard dumpster with what's left in the attic. They had converted the attic to, it looks like maybe a bedroom, and then there's a whole bunch of old electronics and stuff like that up there, but we'll definitely fill up a 30-yard dumpster again. The first biggest issue is what you're going to see us doing here, which is getting the stuff out. And just getting the stuff out by itself is going to help the smell significantly. It cut it down by about half as powerful as what it was before we moved it. But to get the smell out all the way, that's where we're going to have to go crazy with cleaning. So there are 2 ways to get rid of that pet smell. One is Lysol will typically do it if it's not terribly bad and if the surfaces are hard. This one is a concrete floor, so I think Lysol is going to be just fine. I will just put it in a pump-up sprayer, spray the entire floor down, mop it, then do it again and do it over and over, each time letting it sit for about 20 minutes to really set and do its job. The other way, especially if you have carpets, is to use an enzyme cleaner. So enzyme cleaners basically are made to basically eat and break down ammonia. And ammonia is what you're smelling whenever you smell dog pee. It's old, decayed urine. And that's what we'll be getting into on next week's video, is the actual cleaning part. But like I said, just getting the stuff out of here really, really helped out the place quite a bit. The bathtub is pretty extreme, but I'm pretty sure I can get that looking new again. If I can, that would be great because it doesn't look like there's any real damage to it. But what you'll see around the bathtub is a combination of things. 1, it's going to be hard water stains. 2, it's going to be a little bit of rust because of the type of water supply we have here. But 3, and the biggest issue, is the brown that is around the edges of the tub. That's a combination of dirt and the natural oils and fats that are on your skin. So those build up over time if you don't clean it, and eventually they have that flaky kind of grease look to them. I can get rid of that with some acid-based toilet bowl cleaner because the tub is either ceramic or porcelain, and that's basically what toilets are anyway. So we're going to use an extreme cleaner for an extreme situation. But we'll get to that next week. I just wanted to give you a heads up that we're going to be doing some kind of crazy, awesome cleaning. So I'm probably going to title this video something like "This House is Cursed." And I'm not doing it because it's in this condition. I'm going to call it that because From the second we walked in, remember, I haven't done a cleaning video in a couple of months because I've been working on the store. MidwestMagicCleaning.com is the store that I started where I sell all my products that I use in these videos. I'll leave a link to that in the description. That's the weirdest ad you'll probably ever hear. But it's been a couple of months since I've done any cleaning videos, and me and my friends were joking around that, you know, you're going to definitely hurt your back on the very first cleaning that you do. And if you do, I'm going to punch you right in the neck. Well, within about 30 seconds, I hurt my back. I lifted up a desk. It was a really heavy desk, but it wasn't the weight that got me. It was I bent down too quick. And I'm 51 years old. And my body went, hey, you're 51 years old. And then I went, eh. Second thing that happened is we found out the water is shut off to the entire house. I'm going to assume there's a plumbing problem. Otherwise, they'd have, water going at least to a sink or to a toilet or to a bathtub, but the water shut off on the whole house. Then we heard the arcing inside the walls from the electricity. Then I discovered that big nest of spiders. But kind of the last straw was when I moved a desk and a headboard away from a wall in one of the bedrooms and found a very large patch of black mold. It looked like there was a water leak coming from the roof, and it had set into the paneling or the drywall. I don't remember what's in that bedroom, but it's a pretty massive section of black mold. We only had one N95 mask, so I made Kristen go out of the room and stay out of the room. I put on the mask and got the rest of the stuff out of there. Then over the weekend, I'm spraying it down with alcohol. I'll do several treatments with that. Then I will switch to cleaning vinegar, and I'll basically just saturate it until it's all dead. It won't take care of the mold behind the wall, but it'll take care of the surface mold enough to where we can work in there safely as long as we don't disturb it. But it's like every time we walked in there, I would discover something new that would either try to hurt me or potentially put our health at risk from, the mold, or would be this massive hurdle in us trying to get this thing clean. But at this point, I'm angry at the house. I'm going to clean it whether the house likes it or not. Like, if anything, I'm just going to do it out of sheer spite. Like, the house wants to stop us, and we are going to clean it regardless of its intent. Like, every time I flip a light switch and I hear some sounds that should not be sounding, it's like the house is going, oh, you trying to clean? Be a shame if I burnt this sucker down. Then I'm like, shut up, talking house. I'm going to clean you right in the face. Oh, I guess I should catch some of you up. Since you haven't seen a cleaning video from me for a while and not everybody watches the live streams, you're probably wondering who that awesome person is who's working with me. You're like, man, that person looks awesome. I wonder who she is. Well, I'm going to tell you, so be patient, man. Be patient, man. That is Kristen. When Jason went his own way and got a different job, I had to hire a new assistant pretty much immediately. Not only does she help me with these cleanings, but because of what I do, my time is sapped. Just from the time I wake up until the time I go to bed, I'm constantly working on something. So she does things like pick up my medication. She goes grocery shopping with me or for me. She makes sure that if I do something stupid like hurt my back from picking up a desk too quickly, that I don't continue to do the things that guys normally do, which is just continue to pick up heavy things like their back isn't about to go out for 2 weeks. She does my errand running and making appointments. She brushes the long, luxurious locks of my house moose. And she also helps do the inventory and shipping for the stuff that we sell on MidwestMagicCleaning.com. Link in the bio. Sucker. The only real drawback with Kristen is that she's a thief. She loves stealing. Like, we went to Walmart last week, and I didn't even notice that she came out with an 80-inch TV just tucked underneath her shirt. And I was like, dude, you can't be doing that in here. Why did you grab an 80-inch TV? You already have TVs. And she was like, look, if they didn't want it to be stolen, they wouldn't have made it look so tempting. But, what can you do? Not everybody has nothing but upsides. I mean, she's got 2 kids. I don't think she was ever pregnant. I think she just stole them. Anyway, I won't get into her private life, like her addictions are her own. But once we found that mold and stuff, I said, okay, let's get the last of this. You stay out of this room. I will finish up what's left in the room as far as taking stuff to the dumpster. I'll treat that over the weekend, and then we'll jump back in on the actual cleaning part on Monday. So you'll finally get a cleaning video, like an actual take something dirty and make it clean again type video this coming weekend. Couple things while we wrap this up. First is if you haven't subscribed, please do. We're on the final stretch to 1 million subscribers. I think last I checked, we had over 800,000, maybe around 820,000, and now it's just downhill until we hit that million. When we get the million, the channel gets a gold plaque, and that's the only thing I've ever asked in return for what I do. I clean all these houses on this channel for free, and so the only thing I ask of you is the same in return, which it's just do something for me for free, which is just click the subscribe button. It doesn't cost anything. For those of you who want to do more than that, once you're subscribed, we do have a join button, which is a paid membership, and that gets you access to Discord. The second tier gets you access to Discord and an additional video every Wednesday. Usually that's a live stream that I do for members only. But as I always say, if you can't afford something like that, do not, for the love of God, do it. I don't want people buying stuff they can't afford. I don't want them to buy unnecessary stuff. It's just a monetary way to support the channel. That said, members, I'll see you all this Wednesday. Everybody else, I'll see you next weekend. Later.